land is your land, and this land is my land. From the California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me.
That song should be a national anthem in place of the rockets' red glare and the bombs bursting in air. It should be, this land is our land, your land, my land.
His name was Woodrow Wilson Guthrie, born 1912 in Oklahoma, one of the best songwriters, maybe the best songwriter of this century in the USA.
That powerful image of the little man in the red checked shirt with a guitar, riding the boxcars from state to state, singing his songs, carrying the news, fighting the big guys. That was Woody Guthrie.
As I went a-walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway, saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me.
What struck me always about Woody's music was the people, the feelings, the descriptions of the country. He was a link between live organic music and lyricism.
And I also like the children's songs, and I liked his art. I'll tell you what, except that he was a little skinny, I can't think of too much that was wrong with old Woody.
This land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me.
Well, I felt it was important to go back and visit with or sing and play music with people who either knew or heard about or were influenced by my dad. So we started out in Okemah, Oklahoma, in the Oklahoma hills where he was born.
Way down yonder on Indian Nation, ride my pony on the reservation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. Way down yonder on Indian Nation, cowboy's life is my occupation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born.
I was born in Okemah, Oklahoma on July the 14th, 1912. All up and down the whole country there, they got oil. Got some pretty nice oil fields around Okemah there. Well, in them days, it's a little town about 1,500, and all just sort of a farming class of people.
Many a month has come and gone since I've wandered from my home in those Oklahoma hills where I was born. Many a page of my life has turned, many a lesson I have learned, and I feel like in those hills where I belong.
The town didn't amount to much except on a Saturday, you know, when all the farming people would come in there to have a trades day or celebrate, but the population, the people that lived there, was about 1/4 Indians, 1/4 Negroes, and 1/2 white. I learned how to play a French harp off a boy that shined shoes down there. He was playing the Pale Road Blues.
But as I sit here today, many miles I am away from the place I rode my pony through the draw, where the old blackjack tree is the playful prairie breeze, and I feel like in those hills where I belong. Way down yonder on the Indian Nation, ride my pony on the reservation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born. Way down yonder on the Indian Nation, cowboy's life is my occupation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born.
There's a place and a time in your life that you love, that's in your childhood, that stays with you forever. And if we found out anything about Woody, it seems that he never lost the ability to be a little kid. So there's something there in Okemah.
He was for the poor person. Okemah basically is a poor man's town.
Back in the 30s, the people worked their butts off and they lost their farms. And then the big banker come and took your land away from you, and I went to it. And the man come out and hand you the paper, you're gone. And that's what he was trying to say to his song.
You know any Woody songs?
Only the one, and what's this? This, yes, my land is your land, yes, I remember.
He wanted everybody to have an equal share of America. He loved America, and he wanted everybody to have that, well, you know, their share of it.
But I didn't know it was Woody Guthrie did that.
Or even Oklahoma Hills.
And is he the one who put out the Oklahoma Hills where I was born?
Yeah.
Really? That was Woody Guthrie?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
I mean, I'm proud of it, the fact that he was from here.
Oh, I think they've accepted him now.
No, his name wouldn't be on the water tower if they didn't like him.
That's right. They like him, or he wouldn't be on the water tower.
I think those water towers are probably known more for hot and cold than for home of Woody Guthrie. That's the kind of reality that I think Woody could appreciate. I think he would have liked that.
Okemo, Oklahoma got two tourist attractions. One is the highway, and the other is the famous Guthrie Hole. Now, tourists have come to this hole to pick up pieces of what's commonly known around here as Guthrie wood. This wood doesn't seem like much, but sells for large amounts of money in folk circles in the East. It's cheap here. This is it, folks. First house burnt down altogether, but they eventually moved into this one, and I guess and things really fell apart. The house took a little longer than the family, but I think it ended up about the same shape. You don't mind us barging in here, do you?
No, come right on. I'm glad it's...
Mary Jo is my dad's youngest sister. She's one of the neatest, kindest, greatest aunts a person like me could have.
Back when Woody was a little boy, and Clara and Roy and Woody experienced the good times with the family, because during that time, our dad was one of the richest men in Okfuskee County.
I wasn't in the class that John Steinbeck called the Okies because my dad, to start with, was worth about $35,000 or $40,000, and he had everything hunky-dory.
And this picture here is a picture of our dad. I was always proud. I think he looked so dignified there, and I was proud of the fact that he was a Shriner and a 32nd degree Mason, and there's his pins that he wears.
Then he started having a little bad luck. In fact, our whole family had a little bit of it. I don't know whether it's worth talking about or not. I never do talk it much. But then my dad built a 6-room house. Cost him about $7,000 or $8,000, and the day after he got the house built, it burned down. Well, right after that, my 14-year-old sister either set herself afire or caught a fire accidentally. There's two different stories got out about it. Anyway, she was doing some ironing on the old kerosene stove. It was highly unsafe, caught her afire, and she run around the house about twice before anybody could catch her. Next day, she died. And my mother, that was a little bit too much for her nerves or something. I don't know exactly how it was, but anyway, my mother died in the insane asylum at Norman, Oklahoma. Then about that same time, my father mysteriously, for some reason or other, caught a fire. There's a lot of people say that he set himself afire. Others say that he caught a fire accidentally. I always will think that he done it on purpose because he'd lost all his money.
During the Depression, when it hit, Charlie Guthrie was the only man that lost a farm a day for 30 days. And that just cleaned him out. Well, after that, the family fell apart due to hardships.
All us kids had to scatter out and be adopted by different families. I lived with a family of people. There was 11 of us. Lived in a little 2-room shack, if you know how that is. And then after that, I don't know, I hit the highway to be what's called a rambling man. At that time, I was about 17 years old.
And you take a man that's been through all this and you look at the words to all of his songs. They are pretty words. he describes the country, or if he's talking about the Oklahoma hills, or this land is your land, everything is pretty and everything is good. And he doesn't write down and out bluesy type things. He writes up and things that give you an good feeling.
Way down yonder on the Indian Nation, cowboy's life is my occupation in the Oklahoma hills where I was born.
So things started going to hell. One summer, Woody just decided to take off, and so he rambled into Pampa. Matt Jennings was one of the first people that Woody got on with well and played music with in Pampa, Texas. Woody was clowning around with Matt Jennings and in and out of bands. This is probably the first time he ever made any money actually singing songs or even thought about it.
That's good.
Thank you. The first time I saw Woody, he was working at Harris's Drug, and this wasn't your conventional soda jerk job because they were moving a little bit of Jamaica ginger and bootleg whiskey through the place. And Woody liberated a couple of bottles of that stuff, and we went out on the town and had quite a bit of fun at the Red Barn Dance. And before he went to sleep that night, we finally spent the night at his hotel room because it's so late I didn't want to wake the folks up. He said, I had a letter from Okemah last week, and he says, my mom is dead. My mom died. It's like that, out of the blue. So the story unfolded for me that what all had happened to her, and then the first time he had visited her in the insane asylum, that's where they put Huntington's patients in those days, she didn't recognize Woody. He must have been 8 or 10 years old, something like that. And here he finally gets to visit his mother in this place, and she doesn't realize who he is. And finally, just before he leaves, she recognizes the boy and patted him on the head and says, you're Woodrow. Then he went on to tell me all of what he knew about Huntington's disease, that it was transmitted. They thought at that time it had to go from mother to son and father to daughter. But we figured it out. There was definitely no way that Woody could ever come down because he's such a perfect specimen and so healthy and all. But I thought a few times about that night. It seemed so far away and so impossible that anything like Huntington's disease could stalk you that long and be that bad. It happens.
Well, this is what was known as a corn cob trio. Matt and Woody and Oscar.
They'll look awful collegiate here with these little sweaters on and them
Don't
ties.
they though? Yeah, that was right uptown then. And of course that was at the time that Woody had his banjo and Matt got the fiddle. And there were many, many nights of a lot of noise, whether we had much music or not.
Yeah. We had a lot of practice sessions trying to learn these instruments, and my sister, who's a little younger than I am, was generally around, and as we progressed a little bit with the music, we'd play parties and here and there, why she would go along with Woody, and they began to date a little bit. But Sis was only about 16.
That's the day we got married. It's going to be 50 years, 28th this month, October. We did things that the normal couples didn't do. We had our little bands. We went out and played for dances, and I would go out with him. And to a young girl, that's fascinating. And he was just entirely different than anybody that I knew.
Matt, what was it like when the dust storms hit Pampa?
Well, generally when we think of dust storm, we think of this very worst one, which was the 14th of April in 1935, but it had been dry for months previous to this, and we were having dust come up every morning. By 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, You could look straight at the sun on a perfectly clear day, and it would just look like a big orange up there. It was that much dust. It looks like the wrath of God. It looks like the end of the world. I don't want to see anything else like that.
In this part of Texas, some of the worst dust storms in the history of the whole world, I guess, broke loose. And I'd like you to look at that. That there is the little town of Pampa, Texas. That was the big middle of the Dust Bowl, where the wheat grows, the oil flows, and the farmer owes. They just said, well, this is the end. This is the end of the world. People ain't been living right. Human race ain't been treating each other right. Been robbing each other in different ways with fountain pens, guns, and having wars, and killing each other and shooting around. So, time had come when the river was there to cross, and everybody just said, well, so long, it's been good to know you. Let her come. So long, it's been good to know you. So long, been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. This dusty old dust is a-blowing me home. I've got to be rolling along. They hated to give up what they'd worked there for 50 years, been born and raised on, and had their kids on, and they owed the bankers. When they couldn't pay them, well, naturally, they come down with a mortgage, took their land. So they bundled up their little belongings. They couldn't take it all because they didn't have room and they didn't have the money. But anyway, they had heard about the land of California. Said, so long, it's been good to know you. So long, been good to know you. So long, it's been good to know you. This dusty old dust is a-rolling me home. Gotta be drifting along.
Woody decided that Pampa was not the place for him. Everybody was being more or less blown out of their homes. So he wanted to go to California and establish a life for himself and myself and the kids. So we moved in 1937, we moved to California. And by that time, Woody had established himself enough as more or less a philosopher, along with writing songs and singing songs. So he got a job at KFBD, a small radio station.
Woody met up with a gal by the name of Lefty Lou, and together they sang the old country songs over the radio, receiving tons of mail from everywhere.
That was the first group I went through. I had packed 10,000 letters and cards with me to Chico, and I was getting married. There was no storage. I was going through getting rid of all the incidentals, and I know there were 100 postcards in each one of those packages there, and this was the first bunch.
I had always heard about Lefty
That's another
Lou.
one. That's of Woody.
When we were doing this movie, I thought, boy, wouldn't that be something if she was still around? Boy, what a gold mine of stuff we found meeting Lefty Lou.
That's Lefty Lou.
Chaps and all.
Yeah, those were something else. Beautiful, weren't they?
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us about the response you were getting from the people who were listening.
Oh, it was great. We had a built-in audience of more or less displaced persons from the Dust Bowl, and they made up a good part of our audience, and because it was the same kind of songs they had always done, we just had a good audience right away, friends, not fans. And when we first started out, we didn't have too many songs, and that is how Woody started putting his own version to original old songs. And then after a while, we ran out of those, and he started writing his own, and he came up with Oklahoma Hills and Reno Blues, and all those came about by accident, by a news clipping. When I found this clipping of the cowboy being shot, you know, in an argument over a girl in Reno. So Woody came up and he looked at it. He wrote Reno Blues, or Philadelphia Lawyer at that time. And when we did it on the air, this man, a friend of the cowboy, wrote this letter to us and sent a picture of the cowboy that had been shot.
Who unfortunately was gifted in receiving the worst in a shooting fray.
Gifted. Gifted.
That's great.
You start slowing on Philadelphia. There's one less Philadelphia lawyer.
Philadelphia Lawyer became a big hit for Rose Maddox and Maddox Brothers. It was the first song of Woody's that probably was recorded at all. It probably gave him delusions of grandeur.
When my brothers and I first started in the music business, we used to follow the rodeos, and we'd set up in a bar and play, and right across the street from us in another bar was Woody Guthrie and Jack Guthrie playing and singing, and doing the same thing we was, playing for tips so they could get some food to put in their stomachs. And I would stand outside and listen, and that's where I learned the Philadelphia Lawyer, which was then known as the Reno Blues.
Let's talk about how big a hit, if that's what you called it back then.
The last account I had was back in the late 40s, and it had sold over 8 million then, and at that time, that was a lot of records.
That is a tremendous amount.
Yeah, there was 8 million of them sold, and since then it has been re-recorded, it's been sent overseas.
Did you ever make any money off the
No,
8 million?
Not a penny. Not a penny. But we got known off of it.
Way out in Reno, Nevada, where romance blooms and fades, a great Philadelphia lawyer was in love with a Hollywood maid. Come love and we will wander down where the lights are bright. I'll win you a divorce from your husband, and we can get married tonight. While Bill was a gun-toting cowboy, 10 notches were carved in his gun. All the boys around Reno left Wild Bill's maiden alone. One night when he was returning from riding the range in the cold, he dreamed of his Hollywood sweetheart. Her love was as lasting as gold. As he drew near her window, a shadow he saw on the shade. 'Twas the great Philadelphia lawyer making love to Bill's Hollywood maid. The night was as still as the desert, the moon hanging high overhead. Bill listened a while to the lawyer. He could hear every word that he said. Your hands are so pretty and lovely, your form so rare and divine. Come go with me to the city and leave this wild cowboy behind. Tonight back in old Pennsylvania, among those beautiful pines, there's one less Philadelphia lawyer in an old Philadelphia tonight.
All right.
Did you have any suspicion back then that Woody's songs would be as well known as they are today?
Not only that, but I can't believe it now. And Woody wouldn't believe it. I mean, if he saw all this, he wouldn't believe it. There was never any indication. He didn't have any feelings like that, you know, being important and whatnot. But no, I don't. I find this incredible. I wonder, what am I doing here? This is ridiculous. It's a long time between shows, too. It's been 46 years since I did the last show with Woody. Oh, gee, I told my age almost.
Around the same time that Woody and Lefty Lou had their show on the radio, Woody had met up with the actor Will Geer, who was involved in the local political struggle of the migratory workers.
Will was the same kind of person in real life that he was as Grandpa on the Waltons.
Oh, there's Papa.
There he
Come
is.
over here and meet up with Papa. And this is the way he really looks. He called himself the world's oldest juvenile delinquent.
Looks better in stone.
In the Hey, there's a lot of truth in that one.
And so Woody started trotting out with Will. This sort of put him into the political scene, and so he became a very popular figure.
He set off for this camp. I think it was in Weed. And there was a platform, and they introduced Woody, and everybody seemed to know him and know all about him. He got up and he sang his song, Do, Re, Mi. You know about it. It's not so great if you don't have the Do, Re, Mi. And everyone was, you know, it was like awe in that audience. It was as though suddenly a spokesman for them had appeared. They were so proud. They were so proud of Woody.
Lots of folks back east this say is leaving home every day and beating the hot old dusty way to the California line. Across the desert sands they roll, trying to get out of the old dust bowl. They think they're going to a sugar bowl, but here's what they find. The police at the port of entry say, you're number 15,000 for today. Oh, if you ain't got the do-re-mi, friend, if you ain't got the do-re-mi, you better go back to beautiful Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Georgia, Tennessee.
Aside from writing about the plight of his own people, Woody's horizons became expanded by seeing the plights of others, including the Mexican migratory workers. He wrote a song about them called The Plane Wreck at Los Gatos.
It was about a bunch of Mexican laborers who had come up into the valley up here, in Sacramento Valley, somewhere up there. They were picking crops in the field, and who are those guys? Border Patrol came down and rounded a bunch of them up and put them on a plane. And they were flying them back down to Mexico, and the plane caught fire and exploded and crashed and killed them all. And in the news reports, somebody said something about, you know, terrible plane disaster. And then all of a sudden they said, oh, it wasn't really that big a disaster, they were just deportees. Like they weren't even human, you know, they were just, so don't anybody worry about it.
The crops are all in, the peaches are ruddy, the oranges are piled in their creosote dumps. They're flying you back to the Mexico border to pay all your money to raid back again. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. Only will call you be deportees.
My father's own father, he waded that river. They took all the money he made in his life. My brothers and sisters, they worked in your orchards, rode the big trucks till they lay down and died. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane, all they will call you be deportees. Oh, the sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon, a fireball of lightning that shook all our hills. Who are all these friends who are falling like dry leaves? The radio said they're just deportees. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane, all they will call you will be deportees. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane, That's all I can remember.
That's enough.
Now, you'd never believe this, but Arlo's and Woody's, I guess Woody's grandfather,
right.
Woody's grandfather's brother married my mother's father's
sister,
aunt.
Right.
We're related. Don't you think there's a lot of family resemblance here?
I think so.
Of course, Oklahoma was an incestuous place in those days.
I was standing down in a New York town one day. Standing down in New York town one day.
Well, it was around that time that Woody decided to go and vaccinate himself into New York. Will Geer thought that there would be people in New York who would appreciate Woody's hillbilly philosophy and also his sense of urgency and honesty in the songs he was writing at the time.
He had just recorded the records of the Dust Bowl, and he had a show on CBS, and he had some specials for the Library of Congress. And that had really given Woody his best break, and he was doing very well.
Well, I have to tell you that, first of all, when he arrived in New York, and we were living in our apartment in New York, Woody wrote a lot of his songs in our bathroom. Sit on the john for hours composing. Well, between the smell of Katie's diapers and Woody's underwear, the whole apartment began to stink. And I told Bill that if Woody didn't take a bath, I was going to take the baby and leave. It smelled that bad. And so Bill bought a bottle of pine oil, and he dumped it into the tub, and he invited Woody in. Woody says, no, he says, the weather's too uncertain. He's afraid he might catch pneumonia. I started to pack my things. Bill says, hey, wait a minute. And he grabbed Woody and wrestled him into the tub. He scrubbed him clean, and he came out smelling like the piney woods of Texas. We had a little slow gin to celebrate. Next morning, Woody was up bright and early, sitting in the tub and singing hymns, demanding a bottle of pine oil and some more slow gin fizz. He used up about a bottle a day of both of them every day. After that, he got to smelling so sweet. He did.
And that's when he was just working for CBS. Their sponsor was Model Tobacco, and it was one program a week. And there were other people on that program, and he got $150 for it. And back there, wow, that was money.
And he was doing very well. The show was going very well. Mary came out with the kids, and they suddenly had enough money for everything. And Mary was getting all excited and happy about buying some things for the kids.
Well, we had December and Christmas in New York and New Year's. And it wasn't long after that until Woody came home one day, and he said, we're leaving New York. I think it was a little too much money and a little too good a living, and Woody couldn't stand it. We just had to get out and go. So we went through this period of moving and Woody trying to do his thing along with me trying to raise a family more or less until 1940, when we finally went up in Oregon to the Bonneville Dam project, where he was engaged to write songs.
You just watch this river, and pretty soon everybody's going to be changing their tune. The big Grand Coulee and the Bonneville Dam will run 1,000 factories for Uncle Sam.
What happened when Woody got up here?
After he was first hired, they encouraged him to clean up a little bit, let us say, by shaving his beard and improving his image somewhat. And then they put him in a car with a driver for approximately 2 weeks, traveled up and down the length of the Columbia River, went to Grand Coulee Dam, saw the construction work going on there, went to Bonneville Dam, saw the locks, went to the orchards, saw a lot of what turned out to be a lot of Okies and people that had migrated out of the Dust Bowl. And he was writing songs about them. He'd come back periodically and type away on a typewriter in the office, and a typewriter was provided for him, and write out these songs a couple a day sometimes.
Down along the river, just sitting on a rock, looking at the boats in the Bonneville lock. The gates swing open, the boats sail in, toots her whistle, she's gone again. Gasoline going up, wheat coming down. Uncle Sam needs houses and stuff to eat, and Uncle Sam needs wool, and Uncle Sam needs wheat. Uncle Sam needs water and power dams, and Uncle Sam needs people, and the people need land. Of course, I don't like dictators none, but the whole country, it ought to be run by electricity.
Bill Merlin is a folk singer and also happens to work for the Bonneville Power Administration. He was going through the files and the records one day and found some rare old acetates of Woody singing some songs that he had written at the time that he was there.
Now, I'm kind of glad that you found some of these, because there's one there that I've never heard before at all. Maybe we could hear that while we're sitting up here.
Sure. This was a tune that Woody wrote probably pretty early while he was here. And
There's a great and peaceful river in a land that's fair to see, where the Douglas fir tree whispers to the snow-capped mountain breeze. The cliffs are solid granite and the valley's always green. This is just as close to heaven as my traveling feet have been. Roll, Columbia, won't you roll, roll, roll? Roll, Columbia, won't you roll, roll, roll?
Uncle Sam took up the challenge in the year of 33 for the farmers and the workers and all humanity. He said, river, you can ramble where the sun sets in the sea, but while you're rambling, river, you can do some work for me. Roll, Columbia, won't you roll, roll, roll? Roll, Columbia, won't you roll, roll, roll? Now there's full 3 million horses charged with coolies, electric power. Day and night they'll run the factories, and they never will get tired. Now coal mine gets dug out, and an oil well, it runs dry, but Uncle Sam will find his power where the river meets the sky. Roll, Columbia, won't you roll, roll, roll? Roll, Columbia, won't you roll, roll, roll? Roll, Columbia, won't you roll, roll, roll? Roll, Columbia, won't you roll, roll, roll?
it was probably one of the most prolific periods of his life, turning out that many songs in a short period of time, some 26 songs in 30 days. Some beautiful work.
But the last time that Woody and I were together was after he went back to New York from Portland, and I came from Portland to Los Angeles. And he and Pete were supposed to meet me at the railroad station. Well, they weren't there. They were at TJ. That's Tijuana. So a fellow from Ed Robbins came down and picked up the kids and I. And of course, I've got my oldest child, Gwen, is almost ready to go to school. So that was it. You know, this old stuff has to stop. Kids have to go to school, and somebody has to settle down. So it turned out that I was the one that did the settling down.
Yeah.
I got on my own then.
What year was that?
That was late 41. And after that, Woody and I didn't live together anymore. I did meet him when he was in service, take the kids down to see him. But we never did. In fact, your mother was involved by then.
Yeah. Woody was the least adapted to marriage, I think, of anyone that ever took the vows. Yeah. Poor guy, it just wasn't his thing, and yet I wouldn't say he should never have been married. You wouldn't be around, Arlo. You can't say it that way. But it was kind of tragic. Too bad. Said he had to be that way. But he had to be himself, and whatever else, Woody can say he done it his way when it's all over. I don't know if all of us can say that or not.
My only regret with having been married to Woody was the fact that he did have Huntington's disease, which was no fault of his, but then my children had Huntington's disease, which means I did not have normal children. I lost my children. That is my only regret of having been married to Woody.
I was standing down in New York town one day.
Woody went back to New York to see some friends, among them Pete Seeger, who was in a group called the Almanac Singers, which he eventually joined.
Lee Hayes and Mill Lampell and I were singing together, calling ourselves the Almanac Singers, and getting ready to go west. In comes Woody, about age 27, kind of a grin on his face, and occasionally I have, you know, I just imagine him walking in that door, thinking, what the hell is going on in here? And we said, now sit down there so you don't get in the way. We're trying to work on something. The Almanac Singers were just the forerunner of lots of groups of musicians around the country who decided they'd like to sing country music, old-fashioned music, folk music, whatever you want to call it.
Did you have a purpose?
Yep, it was singing for unions, singing for civil rights, singing about peace or war. I think the common agreement we had was basically one of feeling that the working people of the world were the most important sector of the world. You see, in early days, the unions kept out blacks, kept out women, and the skilled people weren't interested in organizing the unskilled. Along comes the CIO, and all of a sudden, in 3 or 4 years, it seemed like millions of people found a way to have their voices be heard. And that's why Woody was so important.
Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union till the day I die. Now this union maid was wise to the tricks of the company spies. She'd never be fooled by a company stool. She'd always organize the guys. She'd always get her way. When she struck the better pay, she'd show her card to the National Guard, and this is what she'd say. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union till the day I die. Now the last is the one that the women have made up. Now you women who want to be free, take a little tip from me. Break out of that mold we've all been sold. You got a fighting history, the fight for women's rights. With workers must unite. Like Mother Jones, just move them bones to the front of every fight. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. I'm sticking to the union. Oh, you can't sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union till the day I die. Oh, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union till the day I die.
While Woody was in New York, he met up with people like Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, and they traveled around together and worked together.
Me, Woody and Brownie had a little trio, so we going to Baltimore. So we got a concert down there. When we got through, well, the man come around, you know, and said, well, now, we'll go up now, we got dinner fixed. So when I got up in the house, they had me and Brownie on a little table sitting way in the back, you know, and had all this great big fine table sitting all around for the white people. He told Woody, come in, they can't eat with us. He said, what you tell me? He said, they can't eat with y'all? Can't eat with y'all, and he don't come down here and play that good music for y'all and made all y'all happy? I said, no. I said, they had to eat over there. Woody come home and told me, Brownie, hey, son, yeah, Brownie, so y'all walk on out there and walk up the street. So I fixed them. Woody went back there and grabbed had the table like this, you know. He just got up like that, you know. Grabbed one end of the table like that and one like that, turned all the food over. Said, now y'all go eat that, pick that food up, eat it yourself.
John Henry, when he was a baby, sitting down on his mammy's knee, picked up a hammer in his little right hand. That's gonna be the death of me. That'll be the death of me. That'll be the death of me, Lord, Lord. That'll be the death.
My mother, Marjorie, was a dancer with the Martha Graham Company, and Woody and my mother met while he was playing for one of their performances. They fell in love, and they got married. They actually had a few great years of being in love and having a romantic adventure together. But then the Second World War came. He joined up with the Merchant Marine, was actually torpedoed a couple of times. He said he was drunk once and sunk twice.
Have you heard of a ship called that good Reuben James? Manned by hard-fighting men, both of honor and fame. She flew the stars and stripes of the land of the free, but tonight she's in her grave at the bottom of the sea.
Tell me what were their names, tell me what were their names. Did you have a friend on the good Reuben James? What were their names? Tell me what were their names? Did you have a friend on the good Reuben James? Well, 100 men went down to their dark watery graves. And when that good ship went down, only 44 were saved. It was the last day of October when we saved the 44 from the cold ocean waters off that cold Iceland shore.
Now tonight there are lights in our country so bright. In the farms and in the cities they're telling of that fight. And now our mighty battleships steam the bounding main and remember the name of that good Reuben James.
Tell me what were their names, tell me what were their names. Did you have a friend on the good Reuben James? What were their names, tell me what were their names. Did you have a friend on the good Reuben James?
Anyway, he got back after the war, survived it, started raising kids. I was the second one born. My older sister died by fire about 4 months before I was born.
The day after Kathy died, They had a booking at the Barbizon Plaza in New York, and this terrible thing had happened of little Kathy dying, and yet they did it. They did the booking, and I followed behind them, be there with them, and they walked along the street. I'll never forget it, hand in hand, and Woody with his guitar, and those two people, and it was just the bravest thing that I ever saw anyone do. You know, and we did this show. They did that show, the two of them. Well, I told you that one.
Well, they had two more kids, my brother Jody and my sister Nora, and we started growing up together in Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York. I really think Woody loved living in Coney Island. He was able to write. He was just finishing writing Bound for Glory, started some other books, had written a lot of songs, but he also began to notice that things weren't exactly right with him. He began acting a little funny, walking a little strange, and pretty soon he knew that something was wrong.
There's a picture of him.
Ramblin' Jack Elliott. Jack was Woody's real buddy right there at the end, because Jack could go along with anything Woody did, whether it was sick or not. And even Woody used to say that the only person that sounds more like me is Jack. But actually, he documented Woody's style for people like me. And I learned more about how my dad actually spoke and played through Jack than through my dad himself.
I've been doing some hard traveling, I thought you know. I've been hitting some hard traveling way down the road. I've been having some hard traveling, hard rambling, hard gambling. I've been having some hard traveling, Lord. I've been laying in a hard rock jail, I thought you know. I've been laying out 90 days way down the road. And a mean old judge says to me, it's 90 days for vagrancy, and I've been doing some hard traveling, Lord. I've been walking that Lincoln Highway, I thought you know. I've been hitching on 66 way down the road. Heavy load in the red bind, looking for a woman that's hard to find. And I've been doing some hard traveling, Lord.
I've been singing hard traveling in every bar on Route 40. I knew the song upside down and inside out. I called up Woody. He says, come to a party, got a pencil, 120, University Place. That's right over here somewhere. And at the end of that party, he says, well, you need a ride back to Brooklyn? I says, I'll give you a ride back in my Cadillac. So I hopped in. It was not a Cadillac, it was a Tootsie car. And we rode back and ended up at your house. So I ended up sleeping overnight there, and in the morning we started playing guitars. And it just went on, and I just never left. I ended up staying with y'all for a year. And in the morning, the kids would get up about 4 or 5 a.m., and I'd be the first one up after that, because y'all would throw things at me. First dolls, soft objects, and later you'd throw fire trucks and things at me, and gradually I'd start to wake up, and then we'd start really getting down to work. Woody'd have a big tall glass of whiskey and water, or whiskey and soda, and I'd have me a little sip too. And then in the afternoon we'd crank up Tootsie car and go for a ride with the kids. You and Jody and Puffy in the back seat. We'd go up a side street and find a puddle and drive around and around and around and around the puddle, maybe 8 times. Feel like we'd been around the moon or something, which is getting us ready for being astronauts, I guess.
Take me riding in the car, take me riding in the car, take you riding in my car, I'll take you riding in my car.
Click, clack, open the front door, click, clack, open the back door. Going for a ride, we're going for a ride in the car.
Take me riding in the car,
take me riding in the car, take me riding, take me riding in the car.
You could make up verses all day long to this.
The houses and the people walking by. How's it go?
Trees and houses walk along, trees and houses walk along. Truck and a car and a garbage can, take me riding in the car.
You wrote that one, I think.
Take me riding in the car, car. Take me riding in the car, car. Take me riding in the car, car.
Oh, I'm gonna let you blow the horn. I'm gonna let you blow the horn. Ooga, 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 ooga. Going for a ride in the car, car. Take me riding in the car, car. Take me riding in the car, car. Take me riding in the car, car.
You can see us all bouncing
I
up
can
and down.
see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. So he just wrote down whatever you were singing.
Yep.
And you would sing along, and
I think
he would
so. I
remember it.
think that's how he wrote these songs. I know one thing, and that is that my mom and my sister Kathy, who's died now, wrote a tremendous amount of kids' songs.
Trucks in the houses walk along. Wonderful.
But around that same time, something strange started to happen, and that was that people started singing his songs. They were getting played on the radio. And he was becoming somewhat of a legend celebrity type.
We did one of Woody's songs as one of our first hit records, was So Long It's Been Good to Know You.
So long it's been good to know you. What a long time since I've been home. And I gotta be drifting along.
The song reached the top of the charts, sold almost 1 million records of that particular song, and Woody started to earn money.
We were in a bar somewhere in New Jersey, and we were having a beer and a hamburger or something, and Woody went over and would put a nickel in the jukebox and play So Long It's Been Good to Know You, and sort of stand around, tap his foot, but never would tell nobody who he was or that he wrote the song, you know. And I'd want to tell people, but I thought it was kind of more fun just to be there quietly digging it and tapping our feet. That was a big thrill.
So long it's been good to know you. So long it's been good to know you. So long it's been good to know you. What a long time since I've been home. And I gotta be drifting alone.
By this time, he was really getting sick. And he had to face the fact that he was getting kind of nuts and wild and crazy, and he couldn't push it off as being drunk or alcoholic. We finally got around to facing the fact that he had what his mother had.
I have to tell you about this phone call that Marjorie made to me about Woody. Herta, she said, you'll be wondering why it is that I let Woody come, because I know that he's not well. She said, but I had a conversation with the doctor, and the doctor told me that I must let him go and that I must not try to bring him back because it was a danger to the children. And so that was the reason, and she was heartbroken because she always loved him. And with tears, she told me that on the phone, and I thought that you should know that. And it was after that that he became involved with Annika.
When I was about 6 years old, he had taken off and got married again to Annika. But that wasn't a long-lasting relationship by any means. Annika went her way after a while, and when he came back from the West Coast in 1952, that was pretty well the last journey that he had made, and he entered the hospital years of his life.
He just kind of seemed like he was accepting it, but it was evident in his kind of sadness, you know, but he was very, very brave, you know, like he stubbornly brave. He was going to fight it with his very last breath. He was going to just do it, you know.
Woody was very philosophical about it. Marjorie, at that time, encouraged him to seek help at a hospital. Voluntarily, he went into the Brooklyn State Hospital, and it was there that they came to the conclusion that he did have Huntington's disease.
I don't think the love my mother had for my father was ever lost at any time. I think she came when he needed her. And they found out about this time that he wasn't going to be getting any better either, that it was going to be a slow, long haul. And I grew up visiting Woody, singing songs, playing guitars, and we're talking 15 years in the hospital. We're not talking 3 or 4, something like that.
The courage to keep on going was so
fantastic. You know, the average person would have given up a long time before that. But year after year, he looked Harold Leventhal straight in the eye. He says, "Only God can help me."
Well, the years went by, and his songs were beginning to get sung in schools and places like that.
The success of Woody Guthrie as the individual, and particularly Woody Guthrie's songs and his music, became a national phenomenon. Woody was, in essence, the father of the folk music revival. In the early 60s, that folk music became a popular thing throughout the country, and there was hardly a folk artist, from Joan Baez to Judy Collins to Peter, Paul, and Mary, that did not record several of Woody's songs.
The song spread all over, and I remember growing up receiving albums by the week with one of Woody's songs on the album. So I got to hear a lot of music. There were other people, including Bob Dylan, who were inspired by not just the fact that Woody was a songwriter and was in the hospital, but as a philosopher, as a human who inspired him in some way or another.
Hey, hey, Woody Guthrie, I wrote you a song. Had a funny old world that's a-coming along. Seems sick and it's hungry, it's tired and it's torn. It looks like it's a-dying and it's hardly been born. Hey, Woody Guthrie, but I know that you know all the things that I'm a-saying and a-many times more. I'm a-singing you this song, but I can't sing enough, 'cause there's not many men that done the things that you've done.
Woody enjoyed all of that because Woody's life was music. Woody's life were lyrics. Woody's life was involved with social protest. And the beginning of '60s began the movement of folk music and social protest, a continuation of exactly what Woody meant all of his life.
It was the time that draft resistance was in full flow. We had arranged at one concert that 2 young men who had planned to turn their draft cards in but wanted to do it publicly would come forward during a certain point in my concert and would hand me their cards. And I had chosen You Gotta Walk That Lonesome Valley by Yourself. I started the song and the 2 young men came forward, and after them came about 40 others. And I had to turn them all back, you know, and there was a draft counselor down the hall. I said, go down the hall, and if they can talk you out of your draft card, then fine, but otherwise keep it. But it was maybe it was Woody's inspiring song that brought that about. You got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to walk it by yourself. Ain't nobody here gonna walk it for you. You got to walk it by yourself. And there's a road that leads to glory, through a valley far away, and nobody else can walk it for you. No, they can only point the way. You got to walk that lonesome valley. You got to walk it by yourself. Ain't nobody here
gonna walk it for you. You got to walk that lonesome valley by yourself.
As a result of Woody's illness and his own inability to perform, he, in a sense, had to watch this rise of his material from the sidelines.
Never heard Woody sing again, except try to sing. He was in the hospital, though, when he couldn't make his voice or his guitar do what he wanted.
His condition was, bit by bit, if not more than that, really getting very bad.
Go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the town strip slowly by. Can't you hear the steel rail humming? That's a hobo's lullaby. Do not think about tomorrow. Let tomorrow come and go. Tonight you're in a nice warm boxcar, safe from all the wind and snow. I know the police cause you trouble, but they cause trouble everywhere. But when you die and go to heaven, there will be no policemen there. So go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Can't you hear the steel rails humming? That's the hobo's lullaby.
I would go out there from time to time to kind of bring him up to date of what's happening about his songs and the material, bring him a guitar and promptly take it back because he couldn't handle it. He told me to bring him a typewriter. I'd bring him a typewriter. Next visit I'd have to take it back because he couldn't handle it.
You'll find peace and rest someday. Go to sleep, you weary hobo. Let the towns drift slowly by. Can't you hear the steel rails humming? That's the hobo's lullaby.
One morning I received a phone call from Marjorie that Woody had died several hours before. Well, that news was, in a sense, a welcome news. Woody had suffered a lot, and finally the end had come.
Aside from the songs, maybe this little piece of writing sums up what Woody thought. I hate a song that makes you think that you're just born to lose, bound to lose, no good to nobody. Songs that run you down and poke fun of you because of your bad luck or hard traveling. And I'm out to fight these songs to my very last breath of air and my last drop of blood. I'm out to sing the songs that will prove to you that this is your world, no matter what color, what size you are, or how you are built. I'm out to sing the songs that will make you take pride in yourself and in your work. And the songs that I sing are made up, for the most part, by all sorts of folks just about like you. I could hire out to the other side, the big money side, and get several dollars every week just to sing the kinds that knocks you down still further, and the ones that make you think that you've not got any sense at all. But I decided a long time ago that I would starve to death before I would sing any such songs as that. The radio waves and your movies and your jukeboxes are already loaded down and running over with such no good songs as that anyhow. Woody Guthrie.
This land is your land, and this land is my land.
From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me.
Take it.
I've roamed and I've rambled and I've followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me that voice was sounding, this land was made for you and me.
As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said no trespassing.
And on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me.
One bright sunny morning, by the shadow of the steeple, by the relief office, I saw my people as they stood there hungry. I stood there whistling. What did he whistle?
This land was made for you and me.
This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking my freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water, this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me.